I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into another episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just wanted to issue major galaxy level spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in season 1 of the Andor series. So if you haven't finished that season, you may want to pause this video, head over to Disney Plus, finish that season, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, joining with me to break down everything from season 1 of the Andor series, it's Johnny Rico.
Fight the Empire.
Fight the Empire.
What's going on?
Not too much. I mean, Andor, yeah, I can't even begin to say enough how awesome this entire season was. From start to finish. Like, no notes.
Top tier television at its finest.
Oh, man. I mean, there's so much we can get into, and we really will. But I mean, I have to go with right off the bat, I have to give an award. And this award is Best Stormtrooper Kill of the Season. And that goes to the Anvil guy who Spartan kicked one out of the bell tower.
Yeah, that guy was amazing. First of all, like every single scene he was in was so awesome. Just him doing his little routine and stuff like that to get this drum warm up, and then it culminated really well with that nice little kick out of the tower on that stormtrooper.
Oh man, the amount of like just raw intensity of that part, and then you see the wide shot of the stormtrooper just fall backwards out of the tower. Oh man, yeah. So I had to award that right out the gate. But yeah, like I said, really no notes. I loved all of this, and I mean, there's so much we're gonna get into just in this recap anyway, because I mean, we're kind of encompassing most of season 1 in this recap. But I mean, just what I really enjoyed about this season, and we know we're getting a second season, so it's not like a mystery. I'm not saying series. Is that we did have that level of underlying intensity and stuff throughout the entire season, just like what we get in Rogue One, where we've got that suspense and we have that underlying like things are going to go crazy type of thing, and I feel like we had that the entire season. No matter what was happening, no matter what characters we were following, no matter what the background was or happening, I just felt like that was always underlining. And I really like it made it just like that extra level of like not reality, but just of realness and what is their missions are and what this is leading to and building towards type of thing. And I just it never let up from that. And so like every episode I was just like, okay, all right, let's go. Like I just that for me was kind of my favorite part, how it just like that was just kind of like always on. There was always just this level of tension and edge in everything that was happening the entire time. So, but Rico, what were some of your initial stuff from I guess the entire season, or where we left off before when we were recapping?
Yeah, this is like a masterclass to me in television writing. A wonderful kind of stories about morality and kind of like knowing what side you're on, who to trust, and kind of like knowing how to handle yourself in certain situations that you're put in when it's out of your control. I really love this show from beginning to end, whether it was the visual aspect, like the stuff from the eye, in that heist, to just the overall character interactions, like between Luthen and Saw Gerrera, or Cassian and other characters. I was blown away from every single aspect of the show, how it was 100% a Star Wars show, but also could be a show just about anybody at the same time.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm going to shout out all the wonderful performances later on, but particular shout out right now to Diego Luna as Cassian Andor. I think what he's been able to do with this character, um, just kind of being like the one lead of Rogue One, of course, but how he kind of had the most interesting backstory going into this, and how they've been able to expand upon that and kind of still keep that tone and feel of the Rogue One movie is just top notch.
Yeah, I totally agree, and yeah, I mean, we know that's what we're building towards, and that's, I mean, like I said, I love that from the beginning it is felt like that,
Yeah.
in everything, every aspect of it, really just feels like we're leading into. You know what it actually reminds me of, and I believe I said this when Rogue One came out, where I don't know if you really followed the main Halo video game franchise.
Mhm.
But from Halo 1 and 3, your main character is Master Chief. And he's like, big guy, can jump out of spaceships and land on the planet and survive type of thing. But then we got a couple of side games, and we got Halo ODST, which was kind of like a companion series. Obviously it's in the same universe and it's in that same thing, but you're dealing with people that weren't Spartans. They weren't like super powered. They weren't built to fight wars. They were just like soldiers and stuff like that. So you were kind of getting a different glimpse of enemies that like Master Chief could just take out right away. For ODST, it was a little bit harder. Like, it was like real life, like where you're fighting an enemy that's hard. And I feel like in this series, we really, it's showing us how powerful the Empire is, but how powerful, stormtroopers are, and how powerful, because when we see them in the main Star Wars franchise, we're dealing with Jedi, and they can, it's just like, poof, the stormtroopers are gone. They're never hitting any of their shots, like stuff like that. You know what I mean? And so in these series where we're not dealing with the main like Skywalkers, and we're not dealing with Jedi and stuff like that, we're getting a glimpse at how scary this really is, and how, it really is like this. It's not just like, oh, stormtroopers just can't hit anything, so you don't have to be afraid of them at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like we're seeing like how it is for like a real person, not somebody with force capabilities and stuff like that. And I do appreciate, building on that and seeing stuff like that too.
Yeah, this is the part of the timeline that I was talking about with the Bad Batch that's really fascinating to me. It's still a little bit after that, of course, but I like how the Bad Batch kind of handles this kind of transition period between the Republic and the Empire, and you kind of see how the Empire's like occupation of all these planets is kind of starting to take shape. And then when we get to Andor here, that's when they're so confident, they're at the height of their power, that they're starting to let like their confidence is starting to slip into the cracks a little bit, because they're leaving all these little like kind of like places for the enemies to kind of take advantage of it and cut the feet out from underneath them. So we're starting to see the building seeds of that, which leads us right into the original trilogy, where it's just like the Empire just kind of starts to crumble in on itself, which
Yeah.
is again the building seeds of this is just like fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to get to some big takeaways?
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Why don't you kick us off with big takeaways this time?
Boy, okay. So there, I want to say it's episodes 9 or 10, and then of course the finale. We get the big prison break episode, where when Cassian is trapped on that kind of underwater prison, and he's kind of making what eventually is revealed to be parts of the Death Star, which again, an amazing kind of thematic circle there, that Cassian actually took part in building the weapon that would end up taking his own life later on in the storyline. So that was pretty awesome. That whole arc I thought was really incredible. And of course we got to see the great Andy Serkis as Kino Loy, as the kind of like the leader of the group of prisoners that Cassian was a part of, and kind of seeing him go from somebody that was like not willing to kind of like see the problems that was going on in the prison that he was in, thinking that he was going to be able to get out and after serving his time, and then he finally, all these little everything's kind of revealed to him piece by piece, and then as he slowly kind of breaks and kind of comes over to Cassian's side, it's just wonderful acting work. I'm really glad that Circus was again back in Star Wars because of course he was Snoke in the sequel trilogy. So seeing him in like a live action role was really amazing. But that all builds up to one of the best monologues I heard all year, where he's just talking about the building is ours. We're gonna take it over. One floor, one way out, which is just like I remember after seeing that episode, I was just chanting that like throughout the whole week. I was like, I love that scene so much. Uh, and of course, like, we're talking about the way the show is really great at building tension as he's just giving that speech. You're watching the evolution of the prison takeover, and you're seeing the scared look on the prison guard's face, and everything just felt super real. And it's just that really mature way of handling things that we don't really see in Star Wars all that often. Um, and it also culminates in a pretty kind of a heartbreaking moment when they get to the top and you find out that Kino's character couldn't swim. It's just like, God damn it. Just so again, brilliant character work there. Um, but that episode wasn't even the only amazing monologue that we got. We end up getting another a scene later on where Luthen Rail is talking to one of his kind of like his little inside agents for the Empire that works at the ISB. And this guy wants out. He wants nothing to do with this. And then he asks Luthen, like, what have you sacrificed for this? And Luthen goes on this amazing monologue about just kind of like sacrificing his whole morality and any kind of dream of having a peaceful life, basically. And I would say that's those two speeches back to back were pretty bone chilling to watch in that one episode. um, and then in the finale, we got two great monologues, but more they're all pretty uplifting in a sense, except for Luthen's is pretty dark and twisted. But we get Nemec's manifesto, which is something that's kind of brought up earlier in the season, which he's one of the crew members that unfortunately passes, and in the heist he gets crushed by a cargo, and then he just couldn't make it. But his manifesto ends up kind of being like a big building block for Cassian, like, which again kind of helps save the galaxy. Like all that kind of inspires Cassian to kind of keep going forward. Like he could have took off running, but no, he had to go back and be with his people and on his home planet, which leads up to the funeral of his mother. And boy, again, talk about great tension building. The way they built up that whole funeral scene was just amazing. But we get this great holographic speech from Maarva, and it's all about kind of bringing the people up to saying like, we got to wake up. We've been sleeping here, and the Empire's taken over, and now they're a disease that's come to our planet. And I don't know if you've seen this on the internet with the point where she says "fight the Empire." She was actually recorded saying the Empire, and so that's pretty cool. They actually did that take, and then they just we'll just dub over it so they can still see that she said that, and then so four of the best monologues I've probably heard in any TV show, let alone 4 in one season of a TV show all year. So I was like, man, that's my long, amazing takeaway of this brilliant TV show.
I mean, I totally agree with every single one of those that you pointed out. I mean, you said something really cool that I definitely wanted to build on was inspiration and stuff like that, because even with the manifesto thing inspiring Cassian, we had Cassian inspire Kino to get on the microphone and to give that monologue in the first place. So it's like that's what this whole, like, every single one of these was building on inspiration to take up the mantle to fight in this rebellion, to rebel, which is what they have to do basically against the Empire, and what Rogue One is all about. Like, I mean, they even say it multiple times in Rogue One. What are we going to do? Rebel, type of thing. So I that, like, inspiration, I think, is like the best, like, one word definitely thing that we could say about this season and about every one of these monologues, and about the characters kind of pushing each other to kind of really fight for freedom, I guess, of the galaxy at this point. And I just think, these were incredible monologues, and I mean, the only thing that I can't really say anything other than that. I mean, they were great. Like, it wasn't. I mean, they were all amazing. I think the funeral monologue from Cassian's mother, I think, was my favorite. If I had to pick one, I think that one was my favorite, just because all of the tension that is building. I mean, we had, the Empire's forces kind of, as a blockade in case stuff was about to riot and stuff like that.
Mhm.
We had the anvil guy in the tower starting to, hit the anvil when unscheduled and stuff like that. And then we even had, I mean, Cassian's mom helping out in the fight because they were using her brick to bash some stormtroopers
Oh,
in the
yeah.
head and stuff.
Absolutely.
So I think that for me was my favorite monologue of the entire season. I think that was the tension in that was awesome.
Yeah,
And
and I think it really goes to show how underutilized Stellan Skarsgård was in the Marvel movies as Dr. Selvig, because the performance he put in on this show was 100 times better than anything he ever did in the MCU. And of course, I've seen him in a bunch of other stuff as well. He's amazing in Dune and stuff like that. The little bit he's in there and stuff like that. But yeah, he's just an incredible actor. I'm like, they got some amazing cast members in this show that's just gonna keep elevating the source material.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for my big takeaway, it's I couldn't really narrow one down because I mean there were so many things from this season that I really did like. I mean, I liked a lot of the prison stuff and the prison break and the heartbreaking thing where where Kino does turn and say, I can't swim.
Yeah.
I want to know what happened after that. Like, did Cassian just like push him off and be like, we're gonna figure it out? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's not like he could stay there. But yeah, there's so many things. I guess because I rewatched the last two episodes before we recorded this, one thing I really loved and I had to point out was that one section. I believe it was in episode 11 where Luthen is flying back and an Imperial ship like just stops him for I guess a routine inspection.
Yeah.
And he's stuck in the tractor beam, and then like as soon as he's able to like make sure that he's able to escape, he starts like damaging their tractor beam and stuff like that. But that
Mhm.
whole like really quick space battle was awesome.
Yeah, it
Like
was awesome.
just him taking out TIE fighters, and at one point where like he's shooting the lasers and he flies through and chops the TIE fighters in half and stuff.
Mhm.
That was incredible. Like awesome.
Yeah.
So I just wanted like that's my it's not my biggest takeaway of the series, but it's the most recent takeaway that I had to mention. And it's just was perfect. I loved it. I actually rewound it and watched it again because I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, that's so cool.
It's just another thing that makes you love the Luthen character even more. In my opinion, he's one of like the top 5 Star Wars characters of all time already, just off of this first season. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that character.
Absolutely. I had to point that out. It's not even really a big takeaway. It's just more I loved that part and I just wanted to make sure. I thought it was worth noting, it was worth mentioning. There were so many things in this season that I thought were awesome and were worth mentioning. We can almost do another video just pointing out all of the really cool stuff. But so that we don't make this video, like hours long or anything like that, we'll just move on. You want to get to some predictions?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to kick us off with predictions. And it's not really much of a prediction. It's just something that I'm excited to see in season 2 because we already know, we got promised immediately a season 1 with 12 episodes and a season 2 with 12 episodes that are going to be leading up to Rogue One.
Mhm.
And one of the biggest things in Rogue One was that we had Cassian, or when we meet Cassian in Rogue One, he already has a repurposed droid. It's K2SO.
Right.
And so I'm really interested to see that initial meeting, whether, Cassian meets K2SO when he's still working for the Empire and Cassian has to like do a battle with him and knock him out somehow and reprogram or if he's already reprogrammed. That relationship between the two of them was already so strong. They were very bonded by the time we meet up with them in Rogue One, that I'm really interested to see the backstory of that and how they get together and how, Cassian fully trusts him and K2SO is fully trusting Cassian the entire time in Rogue One. So something has to happen that they're very bonded and it has to happen in season 2. So I'm really excited to see that. I think that's what I'm most anticipating to see in season 2. But Rico, what were some of your predictions or what are you looking forward to seeing in season 2?
Yeah, I'm very curious to like to see like the circumstances in which Cassian and K2SO meet and become like this cool little like kind of duo that we end up meeting in Rogue One. Whether like K2SO is like a discarded KX security droid that they just don't want, and then somehow he's found and repurposed by like, or whether like Luthen supplies him with it, like here's your droid buddy or something like that. There's so many different ways you can kind of go about this. As I think about it, it's hard to imagine like him still working for the Empire and then Cassian like talking his way out of trouble with a droid like that. Like I think something has to work out for him where he has to be like redone somehow, like repurposed. So he's not programmed to think he works for the Empire. And like otherwise he's just a sentient droid, which is kind of crazy.
The other thing is, and I don't want to break out of your prediction, is I wonder what happens with B. So I'm wondering if like maybe B's intelligence is somehow transferred into K2SO, and I realize that would be weird.
Very much so, kind of like the Millennium Falcon, the name of the droid that was with Donald Glover's Lando from the Solo movie. Goes into the Falcon, and I remember they talk about C3, but this is a very sassy ship, and now we know why. It's because of that one droid. But so yeah, like again, so seeing where kind of Cassian's friends all go after they get off of Ferrix. I just remember the name of the planet finally. I was going through my brain. I was like, what's it called? Ferrix. So yeah, kind of seeing what happened to all them, because remember his man, I'm really bummed that all the character names are kind of escaping me, but his lady friend that was being tortured by the Empire the entire time that they get free. I want to see where her headspace is going to be that in the second season, because she's going to be super messed up, I imagine. But also one character we didn't really talk about yet was Mon Mothma, who went through a lot this season, when it was whether trying to get her daughter married off to a gangster, to kind of like setting her husband up as like the fall guy for the funds that she was doing. So where her character is going to go from here to where we eventually see her as part of the rebellion later on is going to be a very interesting transition. So I'm very excited to see more of that performance from that character as well. And I wonder if maybe I would like a cool cameo next season. I would like to see Orson Krennic, the bad guy from Rogue One, kind of show up in some form, because he's going to be alive still. So I wonder if he'd be like a superior to Dedra Meero or something like that. There's another character I'm very interested to see more of too. Her and Cyril Karn, that weird little like relationship they have. So yeah, where that goes from there is going to be very interesting to see as well.
If you hadn't brought that up, I was definitely gonna bring up they really did find love in a hopeless
that
place.
Weird moment in the finale. Yeah, she's like, you saved me, but I think I love you. I don't know what's going on.
I should say thank you, because you don't have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that will be very interesting to see where that goes.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's so many like interesting things that could happen that happened in the last 2 episodes, and especially like the season finale that happened. That I mean, it's exciting, and I've said this in the past, that it's exciting when there are so many loose ends, that there's so much that we can jump into in season 2. And I mean, we know where it's leading to, but we don't know how we're going to get there. And so I like that. I like going into another season kind of not knowing exactly what's going to happen to get to the end, type of thing. Right. And I think that makes it really cool. And it gives us a lot more things to look forward to hopefully seeing. You know what I mean? So I think that really sets up a season 2 really well.
Absolutely.
For an already great season 1, there's so much to look forward to for a season 2. So
couldn't agree more.
Well, as I always say, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of season 1? What were some of your favorite parts? And what are you most looking forward to in a season 2 of this? And as we know, it's all going to lead to Rogue One and all of those events. We just don't know exactly how we're getting there. I cannot wait for the rest of this ride. I cannot wait for season 2 and to see how it just leads right into Rogue One. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest video and audio updates. Bye, everybody!
Popping Off presents That Recap Show.